Welcome back, everybody, to the Fantasy Hockey Hacks YouTube channel. I'm Devon Davidson, your host. With me, as always, my co-host Bruce Gunther. How you doing?
Good. Hey, real
Good.
good.
Yeah, I think we're both in a particularly good mood this morning, or this afternoon, I should say. Um, as always, we are a proud member of the Hockey Podcast Network and the official podcast of Left Wing Lock. If you have not listened to our podcast yet, please go check it out on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever directory you use to listen to podcasts. Yeah, so Bruce, let's maybe let's break our format a little bit here, and we'll start with the late game, the Oilers and the Flames. One of the craziest series I think I've ever seen. What's your take on it?
It's just wild. Like I said to my wife last night, I'm happy it's over, that the Oilers won, but I'd really like to see two more games. I really would.
Well,
You couldn't, like, literally, you couldn't. I read down to look at my tablet for a couple things. I look up and they scored, and there was 2 goals scored. It's like,
yeah, it was a minute
incredible.
and 11 seconds. There was a total of 4 goals scored in the second period there.
It was just nuts.
Yeah.
Like, the poor guy announcing the goals didn't even get one out, and no one was scored.
Chris Cuthbert, yeah, he got pretty excited last night. Him and Kelly Rudy was on the broadcast, but
Yeah.
it was funny. Connor McDavid, I guess we'll start there. I don't know if there's any words left to describe that guy. Game-winning goal in overtime.
Yeah.
Brilliant pass from Leon Draisaitl. The two of them have just been lights out this entire playoffs.
Yeah. I loved Connor's post game scrum, the big smile on his face, and it's like, I was bad. I was bad the whole game. I was just bad. That was a self assessment. And if you based it on the previous 2 games, he wasn't himself. At least it didn't look that way. But when they needed him the most, he was there to put the overtime winner in and send him to the next round.
Well, yeah, you and I talked about this off air. I think he seemed to be fighting the puck a little bit last night. It just
Yeah.
was bouncing around on him quite a bit. He wasn't the only player that was struggling, to my eye, but it didn't matter. At the end of the day, like you said, he came through. That's what great players do. My stepdad said, and he watched Gretzky play live in the 80s, and he said Gretzky was great, but he said this guy's better. So, and I've been hearing lots of glowing endorsements like that for Connor McDavid, and I think it's awesome that he's finally getting the accolades he deserves, right?
Oh, most definitely, because he's showed here since, well, basically Game 6 of the Kings series that, he is just on a completely other level.
He's on a mission. That whole
Yeah.
team right now, they all just look, they're prepared to do whatever it takes, right? And
Yeah.
they've played well, and the two big additions there, Zach Hyman and Evander Kane. Hyman was phenomenal last night. 1 power play goal, 2 assists, +4, 7 shots on goal. He had 9 shot attempts, 8 individual scoring chances, 4 hits, 1 block, and 23-38 time on ice.
Yeah, he was everywhere last night, like literally everywhere.
Yeah.
He had a shorthanded chance there too that he almost buried. He was everywhere.
He's been a massive addition for this team. I honestly I had no clue how good he was when he was in Toronto, and I think too he's just stepped up his game since then even. But what's your take on it?
I think so too. Yeah, we kind of saw what he was capable of playing with Marner and Matthews, right? But now these decide, well, McDavid or Draisaitl or Kane and RNH. It's just wow. Like, yeah, they don't have playoff Vasilevsky, playoff Hyman. Like, holy crap! Like,
Yeah,
you just can't say enough about him. And it makes that contract, which everyone was thinking of at the beginning of the season. Well, yeah, it said he's worth every penny, every
absolutely.
penny.
Yeah, no question. I guess the next question would be: are they going to be able to keep Evander Kane? Right. I think he's been really instrumental for them in how far they've gotten in the playoffs so far. He was playing at a 40 or a 50 goal pace throughout the regular season and playoffs. So, I mean, he's leading the playoffs in goals right now. So, you and I talked again off air. It was like, well, does he chase the money somewhere else, or does he try and stay here on a bit of a contract friendly or a team friendly deal?
Yeah, it's all going to depend on in the end what he wants. If he wants the money or if he wants to play. I would say he has found himself a home here in Edmonton based on half season to play in 2 playoff rounds. It's like, yeah, he's got his off ice issues, but on ice he has been everything that we thought he could be plus more.
Yeah, I would 1,000% agree with that, Bruce. Some other notes from the game last night. The Oilers got crushed in the dots. I think it was 22-4 in the first period at some point. They finished the game 19 for 57, so 33% in the faceoff circle, and that's just not going to cut it moving forward, but it didn't matter last night. Leon Draisaitl, 17 points in 5 games. That's the most by any player, I think, in the history of the NHL and the Stanley Cup playoffs. Three or more points in 5 games this series.
And again, like Coach said last night, probably the quietest 17 points, right? Everyone's talking about Connor and and Kane. No one's talking about Draisaitl, who's quietly just racking up the points, right? It's
on one leg again, right? Like, so we talked about lots.
On one leg. Or like he's...
Well, I was going to say, he's going to maintain that he's fine, right? But
yeah, that's what Scott Oak asked him. He said, I'm fine.
Yeah.
No problem. I'm fine, with a smile.
He sure looks fine, honestly.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's bothering him one bit.
No. This was the closest game, Bruce, in terms of puck possession. The numbers were basically 50-50 in terms of shots for, shot attempts, goals for, everything 5-on-5. The Oilers did win in a couple categories there, so that was nice to see. Mike Smith was just a little bit better in this series. 3.40 goals against average, a .907 save percentage, a negative 0.15 goals saved above expected, which looks sterling when you compare it to Markstrom's numbers. 512 GAA, an .852 save percentage, and a negative 8.96 goals saved above expected.
Yeah, that's that last number. That the first 2 numbers aren't great, but that last number is the one that hurts. That's huge.
Yeah,
absolutely huge.
To me, that's like this. That was the difference in the series, was the play of Markstrom.
Yeah.
It was ugly. And then I guess the one last thing we should talk about, Bruce, and I'm just going to ask anyone who's watching this now or later, leave us a comment. What do you think? Was that a goal or no goal by Blake Coleman? For the record, I 1,000% believe that was a non-goal. I think the NHL got it right in it being disallowed, Bruce, and you and I talked with it. I think we agree, first of all, right?
Yeah, so like it and I think Coleman and Sutter put it right, is the NHL needs to define what a distinct kicking motion is, because you can see, and it really was only one angle that actually showed there where you could actually see him purposely moving his foot towards the puck.
Yeah.
And I think Kevin Bieksa on the broadcast had a good explanation of that too, of how normally you would stop and how you would see if he's trying to stop, you'd see snow there, right? And there was no snow, and he was looking down as he was doing it. So he was,
yeah.
And I think he almost got away with it.
It was close, right? I think that it's just that one angle, and I've seen a few. The thing that's funny is all the players that I've seen chime in on this say no goal, and then I've seen lots of media members. I've seen Frank Saravalli said that absolutely should have been a goal. Craig Button was fired up today. He said the NHL screwed this one up. That was a goal for sure. There's 3 or 4. Elliot Friedman last night was emphatic that was a goal, right?
Yeah. Well, because they showed some examples, and there were some examples posted on Twitter later. There were things they did a lot worse than that, and they were allowed.
Yeah.
But again, it depends on your definition of a kicking motion, right? So for the referees last night, it was him lifting his skate as opposed to trying to stop lifting his skate and gently nudging it over. For them, that is a kicking motion. That is what they determined as the kicking motion.
The other point too, Bruce. Sorry, and Bieksa mentioned this as well, and I think Ryan Whitney did too. But when you're falling, your natural instinct is to bring your feet together. It's not to separate your legs like Coleman did and try and move your foot forward, right? So I understand a lot of people say, "Oh, well, his foot was caught on Smith's pad." That doesn't matter, because in that instance, you're generally going to pull your feet together, not spread them apart like that. So.
Yeah.
And then the reverse angle, like you mentioned, to me, that was pretty clear. Like, I just thought it was a kicking motion, but
it's going to be debated for a long time. But I think one thing that can be pretty clear on, like, there was still 6 minutes left in the game. So even if that goal had been allowed, the way they had been scoring, Like the game would not have been over by any stretch of the imagination. Even
Yeah.
at the goal, it still could have ended up in overtime, and it still could have gone either way. But I think in the end, the better team still would still win. So even if it did go to Game 6 back in Edmonton, it would have prolonged it one more game. But it would have been, I think it would have been inevitable. The Oilers were just the better team than Calgary was.
Totally. I saw a few comparisons to this as a controversial call to the Brett Hull Stanley Cup 1999. His foot was in the crease, and that was called back as a goal. So people were all fired up. Or it wasn't called back. Sorry, it was called a goal with his foot in the crease, and people were mad. And to me, that one was far more controversial than this one was.
Yeah, well, that was a Stanley Cup winner, right? This wasn't a Game 7, though, was it?
I thought it was Game 7.
Was it a Game 7?
Or maybe it was Game 6, but I think it was Game 6 or 7. It was Dallas Buffalo, Brett Hull, toe in the crease, and it was called good. And that year, you couldn't have your foot in the crease when you scored.
Well, and they changed that rule halfway through the season, or partway? Was it through the playoffs?
Yeah, I think it was halfway through.
There was a subtle change to the rule, and that's what they claimed was the reason why that goal was allowed.
So just quickly to get off topic here, Doug Warner, his son Rhett played on that team in Buffalo, and so
really,
yeah, he was telling me about Rhett, and so Rhett had 3 opportunities. He was in 3 different Stanley Cup Finals, lost them all. He was in Florida in '96 when they lost there, but they had no place being in the final. And then he was on Buffalo in '99 when they lost, and then he was with Calgary in '04. And there's another controversial call in Calgary in '04.
Right, in Game 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, interesting little history lesson there. I'm going to post a video later about Warner paying me for we had a little wager, a $10 bet on who's going to win this series, and I correctly called Edmonton. So, okay, Bruce, anything else on the Edmonton-Calgary series you want to cover?
Well, we could probably talk for hours on it, but we don't have the time.
Okay. All right. We'll move on then. We'll make this one quick. Rangers, Carolina. The Hurricanes stayed sharp at home, 7-0, 25 goals for, plus 17 goal differential. They pretty much controlled the play 5-on-5 in terms of chances, scoring chances for, shots, all that kind of stuff, scoring chances, high danger scoring chances. I won't get into it, but same old story there. They scored 1 goal, 1 on 5-on-5, 1 on the power play, and 1 shorthanded. Svechnikov came to play finally. He had a big game for them. 1 goal, team high 5 shots on goal, 11 shot attempts, 4 individual scoring chances in just under 17 minutes time on ice.
His breakaway goal was amazing.
Yeah, it was a great play from him. If I had told you he was pointless going into that game, Bruce, would you believe me?
No. No, I wouldn't, because I watched the third period of that game, and it looked like an NHL team playing against a junior team. Rangers could do nothing. Absolutely nothing.
I think they had 17 shots on goal last night.
Yeah, when I started watching, I think they only had 10. Like it was, they were just either the Carolinas that good or they were that bad. It's depending on how you want to put it. Probably a combination of both, but yeah,
I agree with you, Bruce. I think it was a combination of the two. Ronta was great, obviously, just facing 17 shots, but he had a .941 save percentage. Zibanejad was good. 1 power play goal, 2 shots on goal, 8 shot attempts, 2 individual scoring chances for just under 20 minutes time on ice. And then Shesterkin was just okay again, Bruce. Like we had said yesterday, one of the keys for them to win that game is he's going to have to be exceptional for the Rangers. And he had a .912 save percentage and a 3.12 goals against average.
Well, there was an interesting stat they brought up in the game. He has given up the most 5-hole goals of any goalie in the playoffs. And it wasn't even close.
Interesting.
It was like 7 or 8 through the 5-hole.
So obviously the Hurricanes are seeing something there that they want to continue exposing, and that makes sense why Svechnikov went 5. I mean, you see that lots. They get the goalie moving side to side and open up the 5-hole, and he did that to a T last night.
He sure did.
Okay. Quickly before we move on, shout out to our buddy Jared, who has been tuning in, I think, most days here. So, Jared, thanks for tuning in, and we appreciate that. Yeah, it was a tense game, the Oilers game. Now we can breathe.
So. Yeah. Very much so.
Yeah, no, it's good to get some rest. Now we just got to hope that St. Louis and Colorado goes 7 games plus quadruple overtime, and
in each game.
in each game. Yeah. So speaking of which, Bruce, let's move on. We're almost 20 minutes and we haven't even gotten into our picks and stuff here yet. So Colorado, St. Louis. I guess before we move on here, I just want to give me a second. All right, so Colorado on the road. It just bugs me every time I see that. Sorry, I should just move it. But anyway, Colorado minus 175 on the money line. St. Louis plus 150 on the money line. Colorado on the road so far in this series is 2-0. They've outscored the Blues 11-5. Their power play is yet to convert on 3 power play opportunities, and their PK is running at just 60%. So conversely, actually, special teams have been fantastic for the Blues. I think they are at, let's pull my numbers up here. They're 3 for 3 on the power play at home, and their PK, if I can find it here, is, the PK is 100%, and their power play is running at 40%. So I think that's first in both categories for teams, playoff teams at home in this round. Ville Husso has not been good enough. He's 0-2 with a 4.99 goals against average and an 847 save percentage. Darcy Kemper on the other side has got a 2-0 record with a 2.50 goals against average and a 902 save percentage. So for me, Bruce, like in this series or in this game in particular, special teams are going to play a big part. Husso's going to have to be better. McKinnon's going to have to elevate because he needs another game like he had on Tuesday night.
Yeah, that was absolutely amazing, right?
But here's the thing, Bruce. I looked into McKinnon's numbers, and I think you had alluded to this the other day. He had 1 point in this series on the road.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's done nothing in away games so far in this series. So it'll be interesting to see what he does tonight. The leading scorer on the road for the Avs is actually Nazem Kadri with 6 points and 4 goals. And on the other side at home, it's Pavel Buchnevich with 3 points and 1 goal. So there we go. So I'm going to go with the Colorado Avalanche to close out this series. I'm going to bet minus 1.5 on the puck line at plus 150. I think both games they won were by 3-goal margins. I think it was 5-2 and 6-3. So I'm going to take that at plus money. Bruce, unless you change your mind, you're going to St. Louis at home at plus 150 on the money line.
I'm taking St. Louis at home for sure. I just think that they're going to come to play tonight, and they're going to push this one to 7. They're going to make Colorado think about this for a bit.
And so if it goes back home to Colorado, are you taking the Avs in 7 or is it going to be St. Louis?
Depending on, I would probably lean towards St. Louis because there is no pressure on St. Louis. It is all on Colorado, So if this went to 7, I think I would go St. Louis.
Okay. I've got Colorado in my bracket, so I'm just going to stick with those guys here, and obviously my pick reflects that. But
yeah, I have Colorado in my bracket too, but I'd like to see someone take it to Colorado again. I just would.
Just anarchy, hey?
Yeah, exactly. Right. They pretty much dominated the league during the regular season, right? They blew through Nashville in round 1. It's nice if they get past St. Louis, fantastic, but nice to see them get knocked around a little bit. You need a little adversity.
Yeah, no, I think they can just beat the hell out of each other, and I'm fine with that.
The Oilers have about a decade and a half of it, so.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so records to date, I'm at 43 for 70 with just over 61%. You are at 38 for 70, just over 54. Prop bets for tonight. Shot props I'm looking at. Vladimir Tarasenko at over 2.5 shots on goal at minus 130. He's got 7 shots on goal in 2 home games this series. That's an average of 2.8 shots on goal per game in the series overall. Devon Toews over 2.5 shots on goal at plus 125. He's got 2.5 shots on goal per game in 2 road games this series. Goal props, I like Nazem Kadri. Like I said, he's leading the Avs in scoring on the road in round 2. He's got 4 goals in 2 away games. And at plus 210, that's a pretty juicy prop bet there. David Perron, anytime goal, plus 170. He leads the Blues in goals at home in round 2. He's got 2 goals in 2 home contests.
Nice.
Goalie saves, I kind of went back and forth on this, and so I decided to go Ville Husso under 31.5 saves at minus 105. This is actually the best odds you'll get on goalie saves on DraftKings. Colorado's averaging 32 shots on goal per game on the road in this series, and they're averaging 5.5 goals for per game. So, you do some quick math there, and it seems probable that Husso is going to see under 31.5 saves. So that's where I'd be leaning for today. For DFS picks, Kadri, like I said, he's leading the Avs on the road. He's going to be my captain for tonight, as there's one game on the slate, so you're playing that showdown format. He's averaging just over 16 fantasy points per game against St. Louis. I like David Perron here for the reasons I mentioned, leading the Blues at home. 11.3 fantasy points per game. Cale Makar, I didn't look into his stats particularly, but it's Cale Makar. I don't think I need to say too much there. Darcy Kemper, just because I think he's going to take the win here, and score effects and all that kind of stuff. We may see him face a few more shots than Ville Husso tonight. And then Pavel Buchnevich, the leading scorer for the Blues at home. Price is pretty good. So my showdown lineup includes Kadri as my captain, Landeskog, Rantanen, Makar, Alex Newhook, and Pavel Buchnevich.
And then me, well, you can tell who I picked because I've got a few St. Louis players. So for me at center, I took Ryan O'Reilly at 8,200 for 9.6. I think it's big game for the Blues. He generally in the past has stepped up in big games. So I think we'll see a good game out of him tonight. Pavel Buchnevich for everything that was mentioned before. Cale Makar, it's Cale Makar.
No explanation needed.
Although you probably could make a good case for Devon, Toews, and Bowen Byram too. I believe they both have more points than Makar does in this series so far.
Byram's been good, like surprisingly good.
Yeah.
He must be feeling better.
Must be. Darcy Kemper is goalie. I think that I don't know if he's going to get the win tonight, but I think he's going to see more shots than Husso tonight. And the reappearance of Robert Thomas, I think he'll be a sneaky good pick for tonight. St. Louis wins, he's got to be involved.
Yeah, I agree, Bruce. Well, he had 2 goals in their last game that was instrumental in them actually getting to Game 6 here. So,
yeah, exactly. And then my showdown setup for tonight, so Rantanen's my captain. Kadri, O'Reilly, Perron, Buchnevich, and Thomas.
Okay, so there you have it. For the record, I hope I'm woefully wrong, Bruce. I love to see this go to Game 7 and then beat each other up a bit more. All right, so there you go. A bit longer than usual today, but of course we couldn't help ourselves. We had to talk a bit more Oilers.
Just a little.
Just a little. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay up to date with what we're doing. Follow us on Twitter at FHHacks, on Instagram at Fantasy Hockey Hacks. Like I said earlier, check out our podcast. We're on all major podcast directories. Visit our website, fantasyhockeyhacks.com. And we will see you guys in the next one, which will be Monday, Bruce.
Monday. Yep.
All right. Take care, my friend.
Hey, you too.
Bye.
Hey, bye.